Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. I'm reading The Wheel of Time for the first time and sharing the experience with you. This is One Good Turn, The Eye of the World, and today I'm covering Chapter 17! Oh, what a surprise! However did they find you? Look, there is some plausible deniability for Fane, in a way. Because if I recall, when Rand bumped into Fane, I had said something to the effect of, okay, so there are these two lines that suggest he could be working for the Dark One. But then I said, okay, but these lines could mean he's going to go sell them out to the White Cloaks. And there was a White Cloak spy, but then there was a Fade. So, could be either or. I'm leaning for the Fade, personally, but what a chapter. Rand feels that he needs some nice, fun celebration. They all feel that they're safe. And he heads into the common room where Tom is finishing up a story, The Great Hunt of the Horn. To the 8 corners of the world the hunters ride, to the 8 pillars of heaven, where the winds of time blow and fate seizes the mighty and the small alike by the forelock. Now, the greatest of the hunters is Rogosh of Talmor, Rogosh Eagle-Eye, famed at the court of the High King, feared on the slopes of Shai Al Ghul. Rand makes his way over to Mat and Perrin and sits down, and Tom sort of wraps up the story. And I thought that there was some interesting stuff here in the end of Tom's story, especially with the reintroduction into the cast of Nynaeve. So I'm wondering if the story here is intended to build a parallel in some way. Since the day of her birth has the Dark One marked Blaise as his own, but not of this mind is she, no dark friend Blaise of Matuchin. Strong as the ash she stands, lithe as the willow branch, beautiful as the rose. Golden-haired Blaise, ready to die before she yields, but hark! Echoing from the towers of the city, trumpets blare, brazen and bold. Her heralds proclaim the arrival of a hero at her court. Drums, thunder, and cymbals sing! Rogosh Eagle-Eye comes to do homage! I heard nothing in there that couldn't apply to Nynaeve, with how strong and willful she is, and how dedicated to Emond's Field, we'll say, she is. And especially with all of the nervousness that Min gets in the earlier chapter when she sees Nynaeve, I think it works. Tom winds down the storytelling, coming to an end, and they switch over to music. We get a song. My love is gone, carried away by the wind that shakes the willow, and all the land is beaten hard. By the wind that shakes the willow, but I will hold her close to me, in heart and dearest memory. And with her strength to steal my soul, her love to warm my heartstrings, I will stand where we once sang, though cold wind shakes the willow. Again, I get this strong feeling that this is about Nynaeve. Then, Tom starts playing a more upbeat song, Wild Geese on the Wing, and people start getting up and dancing, including Rand and Perrin, but Mat calls after a, remember, I want to turn! And as they're dancing, I suppose I think of Lord of the Rings, especially when there's focus on the guy with the scar on his face. I'm thinking Strider, but clearly not Strider. I think of Merry and Pippin in the bar, dancing, jumping on tables, and so on, before the Nazgul arrives and Strider comes in to rescue them. We'll see how this chapter turns out. I admit, going into this chapter, I was less suspicious that there would be a Nazgul and more suspicious that the inn would be raided by White Cloaks. But until then, we get a little bit of that merriment. They're dancing. There's a girl who's cute, who winks at Rand. He's dancing fairly well. And as I sort of mentioned earlier, there's a guy with a very scary scar on his face that's really eyeing Rand. And apparently he's not very subtle. And considering we learn a bit later that he's a spy, I'm thinking, gee, shouldn't a spy be a touch more subtle? But Rand does his best to ignore the guy. He thinks he might have offended him by staring at the scar or something. Interestingly, Nynaeve has decided to join in on the dancing, and when Rand is dancing with her, he stumbles. He's nervous. He's not great. And Nynaeve is a very graceful dancer, even though he's sort of stumbly with her, which I think is cute and again indicative of possible future romance. She's graceful enough to play it off well. Surprisingly to me, Moraine is dancing. I was legitimately surprised. I would have guessed she'd either like sit quietly enjoying from the side or just have been in her room resting or something like that. I was surprised to see Moraine join in. And again, Rand finds himself a bit awkward. She gave him a sympathetic smile, which made it worse rather than helping. It was a relief to go to his next partner in the pattern, even if it was Egwene. So that was fun. I like that. Then he's dancing with Egwene, who has decided to not braid her hair, but wear it in a ribbon, striking a balance between pleasing Nynaeve and pleasing Moraine, or at least Rand thinks, and I suspect it's accurate. But she's cold, they don't say anything to each other, and Rand thinks, well, if she's gonna be that way, then there's nothing I can do, and I'm not gonna say much more on it. Rand goes to sit down, Perrin shows up, and Perrin is excited to have had the opportunity to dance with Nynaeve. He hadn't even seen Moraine, and that's what makes me think more love triangle stuff. I'm wondering if Perrin has a crush on Nynaeve now, which will be quite a thing to play out, with Egwene having a crush on Perrin, Rand having a crush on Egwene, Nynaeve possibly having a crush on Rand, Perrin having a crush on Nynaeve. Oof, the drama is rife, and I'm here for it. It's gonna hurt to see it all play out, but hopefully in wonderful ways. The dancing and singing goes on. Midnight comes and Moraine leaves. Egwene hurries away. At some point, the guy with the scar on his face leaves, and when Moraine leaves, Nynaeve has I'll read the passage. The Wisdom watched them with an unreadable expression, then deliberately joined in another dance before she left too, with a look as if she had gained a point on the Aes Sedai. Such an interesting passage. It really grants depth to all of the characters. So something I've been meaning to say for the last several chapters, and it keeps slipping my mind to actually say it, but this is a very large cast of characters. There are a lot of them, and for the most part, they are all really well defined, and for the most part, they all get a good amount of screen time, so to speak. It's wonderful and fascinating and so skillfully done, the writing in this book, that is able to grant so much depth for so many characters without it being confusing in any sort of way. Truly, I cannot praise that element of this book highly enough. Matt notes that the guy has been staring at him as well, and Lan had seen him too. Lan says that Master Fitch said he was a spy for the White Cloaks, so don't worry about him. And I hear that, and this is before the Fade stuff, so I'm thinking, yep, they're gonna be raided by White Cloaks. Any minute now. Rand, you fool. Then they talk about how early they plan on leaving. And I'm thinking, with the knowledge of the White Cloaks, keeping an eye on them, you should leave right now. Like, someone should be saying, we need to leave right now. Like, I even half expected Lan to say, or Matt or Perrin to say, something's off, we should go. And then Rand to sort of fight against that in an effort to hold out for Fane in case he needed to come for food, because he told Fane that they would be staying that long. But that isn't what plays out. And to be clear, I'm not disappointed in that at all. I love how this chapter played out quite a lot. I'm just saying that's, at the first read, where my mind went. Rand wants to go get some milk, hoping it'll help him sleep. And as he's walking back out into the hallway, he is confronted with a Fade, a Myrddraal. Gee, I wonder who told them. The Nazgul has come. Rand is too afraid to do anything, even though he has the sword on him, I think. It doesn't even occur to him to use it. And fortunately, Lan comes in just in time, and the Fade actually ends up running away. And my mind did go to Moraine saying that as long as folks are in her proximity, things like the Fade can't touch them. But then, that was when they were in the same room at the dining room table, essentially. So I guess she is technically a bit far. And it's fortunate, thanks to Lan's, I guess, supernatural ability to sense darkness, that he was able to get there in time. So Lan gathers everyone and they start leaving. They are leaving as fast as they can. Tom says, I will ride with you again if you have no great objections. Too many people remember that I arrived with you. I fear that before tomorrow, this will be a bad place to be known as your friend. It was interesting because I kind of just assumed he was part of the party. Wasn't he already planning on going to Tarvalon with them anyway? I didn't expect him staying behind would have even been a consideration. Nevertheless, Moraine is speaking with the innkeeper, who doesn't seem to be taking the threat seriously. Maybe he should, but Moraine really, really does try to warn him. Just whoever comes, tell them that they left, and leave it at that. They get the horses from the innkeeper and from Much, who stares daggers at them. Rand really doesn't like the guy. There's an important passage. Rand held Egwene's bundle, handing it up to her when she was on Bella's back. She looked back at him with wide, fear-filled eyes. At least she doesn't think it's an adventure anymore. He was ashamed as soon as he thought it. She was in danger because of him and the others. So, look, is it a slightly spiteful thought? Maybe? But I don't think it's wholly unearned. She showed a severe lack of empathy early on in the adventure and disregard for the danger. So she needed a moment that would get her to grow up a little bit, I think. So I don't really hold it against Rand for thinking the thought. But Rand is good and doesn't want to think spiteful or cruel things, so maybe Rand is just a better person than I am. Rand finally makes his apologies. Egwene, I'm sorry, I can't seem to think straight anymore. She leaned down to grip his hand hard. In the light from the stable, he could see her face clearly. She did not look as frightened as she had. That was a sweet little moment. Much is staring at them as they leave, and Rand thinks that's someone who would sell us out in a heartbeat, essentially. They're making their way through the city. It is empty at midnight. Occasionally they hear a dog barking, which, if I recall correctly, is a good sign, or a sign that something bad is close. I know that statement is contradictory. I mean, like, the dogs barking are a warning, which is good. It's good to have the warning type situation. They get to the Camelin Gate, and I imagine the fact that they are leaving from this gate signals the intention to go to Camelin. I wonder if it might have been a wise idea to go to a different gate and circle around to trick whatever may or may not be following them. Just a thought. It might be something I would do if I were in the D&D party, but I'll trust Moraine and Lan. They bribe the guard, and as the guard opens the gates, a bunch of white cloaks appear, and one of them has a memorable voice Rand recognizes. The watchman and the white cloak go at it for a bit. The white cloak is basically condemning the city as belonging to the Dark One and not wanting to let the folks out, and threatening to torture the poor watchman. And overall, the white cloaks are just being dicks. And at one point, as Rand is trying to make himself appear smaller, the head white cloak recognizes him. Oh, and I guess there's a drag car somewhere around as well that may or may not be following them. So the white cloak is Bornhald, the guy that was embarrassed earlier on by Rand, and clearly he wants A bit of good old petty revenge. Clearly, Watchman, I have saved you from a great disaster. These are dark friends you are about to help escape from the light. You should be reported to your governor for discipline, or perhaps given to the questioners to discover your true intent this night. You would not wish that, no? Instead, I will take these ruffians to our camp, that they may be questioned in the light instead of you, yes? Very threatening. And then Moraine breaks out the magic. And I suppose it is a sign of the sheer desperation that she must be feeling in that moment to get away as fast as possible, that she's just gonna jump to magic to solve this problem. She's fading in and out from the darkness, and at one point she starts to grow. Now, this does reveal her as an Aes Sedai, which I think will be bad for Bear Lawn and the governor writ large, but again, I had highlighted how desperate she must feel, so it's worth doing this. I trust the judgment. She uses her staff against Bornhald's sword, and it doesn't even get scratched, and she's growing, and eventually she's taller than the wall, and as she's growing, the others rush out the door, and as soon as they're out the door, it's shut again, stopping the White Cloaks, and Moraine just steps over the city wall. As soon as she steps over the wall and puts her first foot on the ground, she goes back to being normal-sized. "You are taller than a giant," Egwene said breathlessly, shifting on Bella's back. No one else spoke, though Mat and Perrin edged their horses away from the Aes Sedai. "Was I?" Moraine said absently as she swung into her saddle. "I saw you," Egwene protested. "The mind plays tricks in the night. The eye sees what is not there." Good old-fashioned illusion magic. Love it. If it was truly just an illusion. Whatever head start they had, leaving from the inn is now lost because of the White Cloaks. Screw them. And as they're running away, they notice a fire back in the city, and they more or less gather that the inn is being burnt down. Ultimately, they rule it out as a coincidence. Naturally, they discuss how it might be taken. They hope that the burning may have been a distraction that could get the Murdral off their trail, but they can't know for sure. Nynaeve expresses concern for the folks at the inn and the innkeeper, and I think that was a very important passage, so I'll read through it. "There will be little rest for anyone tonight." "You say that so easily, Moraine. What about the people at the inn? People must be hurt, and the innkeeper has lost his livelihood because of you. For all your talk about walking in the light, you're ready to go on without sparing a thought for him. His trouble is because of you." I think, yeah, maybe, but also it's the people that started the fire. But interestingly, Lan interjects and says, "Because of those three. The fire, the injured, the going on, all because of those three." And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It is more the fault of the Dark One than those three. It's not those three's fault the Dark One wants them. Or is it? No, I place the blame, the moral culpability, on the people who started the fire. I care less for why they wanted to start the fire. At the end of the day, they did. "The fact that the price must be paid is proof that it is worth paying. The Dark One wants those boys of yours, and anything he wants this badly, he must be kept from. Or would you rather let the Fade have them?" "Be at ease, Lan. Be at ease. Wisdom, you think I can help Master Fitch and the people at the inn? Well, you are right. I can go back by myself and give some help. Not too much, of course. That would draw attention to those I helped. Attention they would not thank me for, especially with the Children of the Light in the town. And that would leave only Lan to protect the rest of you. He's very good, but it will take more than him if a Murdral and a Fist of Trollocs find you. Of course, we could all return, though I doubt I can get all of us back into Bear Lawn unnoticed, and that would expose all of you to whomever set that fire, not to mention the White Cloaks. Which alternative would you choose, Wisdom, if you were I?" I think those are all valid options that would need to be considered were you in Moraine's position, and I'm glad she explains it to them. It makes me think a bit of Sanderson, and how Sanderson likes to do his planning scenes and talk through the options and problem solve. You can definitely see the influence at work here from Jordan to Sanderson. Nynaeve responds, "I would do something," to which Moraine says, "and in all probability hand the Dark One his victory. Remember what? who it is that he wants. We are in a war as surely as anyone in Gildan, though thousands fight there, and only 8 of us here. I will have gold sent to Master Fitch, enough to rebuild the Stag and Lion, gold that cannot be traced to Tar Valon, and help for any who are hurt as well. Any more than that will only endanger them. It is far from simple, you see. So it's good to know that Moraine is going to do that, is willing to do that, is conscientious enough to do that. And I hope Nynaeve hears it. Is it the same as going back then and there? No, but there are valid reasons not to, considering they are the ones who are in more danger than I think the folks at the inn. They find a place to stop and sleep for exactly 1 hour, and Rand has a significant amount of trouble sleeping. Perrin thinks Moraine should have done something, and if Rand had any dreams that night, he doesn't remember them. In that 1 hour, rather. Which I suppose is a bit of a blessing. The lack of dream, I mean. They get up and they head off again, eating as they ride. Exciting chapter, fun chapter. Think that's all I got for now. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.